Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave a warm welcome to the latest delegation from Washington, led by senior presidential advisor Jared Kushner. The Israeli leader conveyed his gratitude to U.S. President Donald Trump for his administration's efforts to advance peace, security, and stability in the region, which Netanyahu said he believes are within reach. Kushner said the president remains very committed to achieving Israeli-Palestinian peace and that Trump appreciates Netanyahu's leadership and partnership. After the talks in Jerusalem, the president posted a message on Instagram reading, "See you soon," in an apparent reference to his scheduled meeting with Netanyahu on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York this month. Trump also wrote that there is no doubt that the U.S.-Israel alliance is stronger than ever.
Just as the Kushner delegation arrived in the region, the Trump administration announced that it was breaking with long-standing U.S. policy by refusing to impose a two-state solution on the Israeli-Palestinian dispute. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said that the outcome of the peace process has to be workable to both sides and that the White House believes that's the best view as to not really bias one side over the other. She went on to indicate that Washington's promotion of a particular platform is not likely to achieve an agreement and that only Jerusalem and Ramallah are able to negotiate a lasting resolution.
There are fresh concerns over the Iranian nuclear development in the wake of the latest claims from Tehran. The rogue Islamic Republic announced it needs just 5 days to ramp up uranium enrichment to the 20% level necessary to produce atomic weapons. Dr. Emily Landau, who heads the Arms Control and Regional Security Program at Israel's Institute for National Security Studies, said the threat exposes additional loopholes in the weak nuclear agreement signed with the Obama White House in 2015. Dr. Landau lambasted the accord and questioned what, if anything, it accomplished. The security expert insisted that for the sake of Israel and all the world, there must be a determined response to Iran's dangerous nuclear program, missile test, increased presence in Syria, and the transfer of weapons to Hezbollah, as well as the building of rocket manufacturing plants in both Syria and Lebanon.
Iran was the focus of talks between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and visiting United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The Israeli leader told the UN chief that the hardline Shiite state is now turning Syria into a base of military entrenchment as part of its declared goal to eradicate the Jewish state. He then went on to criticize the world body's interim force in Lebanon for not stopping the flow of weapons to Hezbollah terrorists, as is required by Security Council Resolution 1701, which halted hostilities during the 2006 Second Lebanon War. The Israeli premier also chastised the United Nations for having an absurd obsession with Israel and for failing to provide peace and security in the region by permitting Palestinian hatred to thrive within its very own corridors.
In related news, the United Nations is currently addressing the largest refugee crisis in history as an estimated 68 million people around the globe seek shelter. However, the world body does not treat them all equally. Recently released financial reports from 2016 reveal that UN agencies spent $246 per Palestinian meeting the criteria, while only a quarter of that amount, $58, was allocated for each Syrian. Jerusalem has long maintained that the UNRWA Agency for Palestinians works against any possible chance of reaching an understanding with Israel by perpetuating the conflict rather than resolving it. Back in 1948, there were an estimated 710,000 Palestinian refugees, while the UN says there are now 5.3 million. This worsening situation exists because the Palestinian Authority has rejected all proposals to settle these people in permanent homes.
Miss Lebanon has just been stripped of her title only 1 week after being crowned, after it was discovered that she once visited Israel. Amanda Hanna came to the Jewish state as part of an academic trip on a passport from Sweden, where she holds dual citizenship. Beirut considers any contact with its southern neighbor to be illegal, and violators risk jail time. Hanna posted a Facebook message during her 2016 visit to Israel, acknowledging that her previous misconceptions were wrong. She wrote that getting to know Israelis helped her to grow as a person, and that she was incredibly happy that she was able to participate in such a wonderful trip. A special team from the IsraAid organization is on the ground in Texas to implement a multifaceted two-stage immediate disaster program to help residents recover from Tropical Storm Harvey. The humanitarian mission from the Jewish state is aimed at providing emergency relief and psychosocial support, as well as assistance in removing debris. Many lives have been lost and tens of thousands driven from their homes after record-breaking rainfall submerged more than 2 million Texans in water. IsraAid has provided nearly 2 decades of help to 41 countries, including 11 American states, dating back to Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
Israel is also reaching out to help more Africans, this time in drought-stricken South Sudan, where famine threatens the lives of millions. Jerusalem's ambassador to Cuba and Israeli humanitarian groups helped to distribute at least 6 tons of food to grateful at-risk villagers. The effort was coordinated by the Israeli Foreign Ministry's Agency for International Development Cooperation and the Israeli Embassy in the South Sudanese capital. The lack of rainfall has severely affected the young nation, which has been racked by civil war since 2013, only 2 years after gaining independence. Thousands have been killed and at least 4 million others have been displaced in the fighting.
Even in the Holy Land, it's not every day that one finds a direct letter from someone dating back 1,500 years. That's how the director of the Israel Antiquities Authority is describing the discovery of a mosaic floor engraved with a Christian Greek message in a building that housed visiting pilgrims in the 6th century. The inscription refers to then ruler Flavius Justinian as the most pious Roman emperor and hails Constantine the Great as God-loving. The rare ancient relic and the historical document in one was uncovered near the Old City in the modern Israeli capital during the installation of communications cables. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein and we're here in the beautiful and luxurious Hilton Tel Aviv. My guest today is Ronnie Fortes. He is the director of Hilton Tel Aviv. Ronnie, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for coming here.
Ronnie, tell us a little about the history of Hilton Tel Aviv.
Well, the Hilton Tel Aviv was opened 52 years ago in 1965. It was a 400 rooms hotel that was enlarged to a 600 room hotel. And over the years, it gained its position to be the leading hotel in Tel Aviv and in Israel. Many returning guests, many generations that came since are still coming. We see very often families with the grandfather, with the father, with the kid coming and enjoying the vacation. A great deal of our hotel is returning guests, which is the power of the hotel. Over the years, the hotel have been changed, invested, a lot of funds were put to make it up to date. And is still and going to continue to lead the market. We're looking forward for that.
Ronnie, you did something very unique. You actually opened up a incredible luxurious hotel within the Hilton Hotel. Tell us a little about the vistas at the Hilton.
With pleasure. We have recognized over the years the need for luxury. And every hotel has an executive lounge, and we had also an executive lounge. But it is an executive lounge, which is great. But we felt that there is a need for much more than that. And we went over this venture of the Vista at the Hilton. It's a full hotel by itself. It's under 70 rooms with a magnificent and spectacular lounge. Different services, different approach, different feel. Still benefiting from the Hilton Tel Aviv facilities, which are very significant, very meaningful to all of our guests. But at the same time, enjoying a niche, a luxury product with the Hilton Tel Aviv, which is called the Vista at the Hilton, separate check-in, separate check-out, a lounge that gives you a almost full board, alcoholic drinks, food all day long, and a all different luxury approach to guests, which is so much appreciated.
You know, we know that the other product of the Hilton is the Waldorf in Jerusalem, but there's never been in Tel Aviv a hotel at that level of luxury, and now there is. Do you think there's really a market for this?
So far, we see there's a great market. We have these returning guests who are requiring only the Vista. We have this phenomena that guests do not come if the vista is not available. We have enlarged the envelope now to address other niches, other markets, other clientele, and to get more demand. Yes, we'll have a big problem when we'll have to do a Waldorf. How far can we go? Because this vista is great, it's really luxury.
You're not just the head of the Hilton Tel Aviv, but you're actually the head of Hilton in Israel. Are there any other projects that you foresee happening other than the Waldorf and this new initiative here in Tel Aviv?
Absolutely. We are talking to many investors. There are thoughts about new products, part of the Hilton brand portfolio in Tel Aviv and maybe in Jerusalem and maybe in other locations in Israel. We are very selective. We cannot enter to areas or to hotels or projects where we are not convinced we can make the difference. So yes, we are, I wouldn't say choosy, but very selective in our approach and our choice. But yes, we are talking about new products in Israel.
This is supposed to be a record year for tourism. There are going to be more tourists this year than ever before in Israel's history. How does that affect the new brand of vistas at the Hilton?
We saw in the past 3 months much more demand. We saw that the occupancy in that time frame, this first 6 months of the year, were a record number also for us. And we hope this will continue.
Do you foresee that the tourism demand will overtake the amount of hotel rooms they actually have in Tel Aviv? Or are we at a situation where we might not be able to meet demand?
Well, it can happen, and you always have these bottlenecks, but the government and the local municipality, local cities are very committed to get a fast track for approving new hotels, new projects. We know that many new hotels are coming up. Hopefully that will be the problem and not vice versa.
The Hilton here in Tel Aviv is known for hosting some of the most famous and unbelievably talented guests. Recently you've had 22 Hall of Famers from the NFL here. How do you keep a level of privacy, a level of the level that they look for at the international brand for these type of guests?
Well, each visit of this kind is a tailor-made visit, it's a tailor-made approach. We do not have a fixed way of let's come and talk about it. We always meet with the organizers, we always try to address their demands, and each visit is different, very different.
The people who watch Israel Now News are mostly a Christian audience, and a lot of them are focused on going to Jerusalem. Why would you think that it would be smart for them to come and at least spend a day here in Tel Aviv when they're here in Israel?
It's a good question. The experience shows that visitors from North America are coming normally for a stay, which split the two cities, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Jerusalem history, you can't fight it. It's the best place to be and very interesting, and it's the fate of everybody. But coming to Israel is also vacation, is also good life, is good food, is a real place to be and to feel very comfortable. And before, after Jerusalem, that's the way to conclude the visit.
Ronnie, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I don't think you can understand how good it is unless you come by yourself to see it. You read a lot of things, good, positive, negative. You have been influenced by many media, which is part of life, but you have to come and see that. Our experience shows that anybody who came physically to be here was becoming always a returning guest and a supporter for this city and this country.
Thank you, Ronnie, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm Josh Reinstein at the beautiful and luxurious Tel Aviv Hilton. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayasod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayasod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Today, you will witness the fulfillment of biblical prophecy through the gathering of the exiles. God bless you from Jerusalem.
Me and my family always prayed to come to Israel because it's a home, it's our home. 10 months ago, I made aliyah with my sister. We are living together in Haifa. I'm worrying about my family because the situation in Ukraine now really terrible.
The past decade and a half has witnessed a frightening upsurge of worldwide anti-Semitism, unparalleled since the 1930s. Across Europe, incitement, desecration of Jewish institutions, attacks on Jewish property, and acts of terror, including murder, are striking fear into Jewish communities. From London to Berlin, Brussels to Copenhagen, Jews are being harassed, assaulted, and murdered. The situation is particularly intolerable in France and in Ukraine. In France, violent crimes against Jews have become commonplace.
Avec la multiplication des actes antisémites en France, donc déjà j'ai peur pour moi, mais j'ai aussi peur aussi pour ma famille, pour ma femme, pour mes enfants plus tard.
In eastern Ukraine, over 1 million people have been displaced. In the escalating chaos and lawlessness, Jews have once again become scapegoats, with many anti-Semitic incidents reported.
When I was in school, my classmates told me that, oh, you are Jewish, it's not normal in Ukraine, why you are Jewish? It was very hard for me to speak with them, to describe every time what I do in Ukraine and why I'm Jewish.
I will give to you and your descendants after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. But Israel has always been the homeland of the Jewish people. Throughout their 2,000-year exile, the Jews prayed daily to return to the land of Israel. In 1917, Great Britain issued the Balfour Declaration. In 1920, Keren HaYesod was established to raise funds for this purpose. Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Keren HaYesod has helped bring 3.5 million olim to Israel from the four corners of the earth.
This is Bible prophecy come into fulfillment. It's not just my heart, but I can feel the heart of Abba Father. Abba Father in heaven is so pleased to see his children who are scattered all around the globe is coming back home.
From India to Africa to Europe, record-breaking numbers of Jews are eager to come home. Aliyah rose dramatically in the past year, hitting a 10-year high despite the security threats that face Israel. Keren HaYesod operates in 45 countries throughout the world. The Keren HaYesod law, passed by the Knesset in January 1956, grants the organization a unique fundraising status. In close coordination with the government and the Jewish Agency for Israel, and in partnership with the global Jewish community and Friends of Israel, Keren HaYesod promotes Aliyah and other national priorities. We need you, dear friends, to be our partners in this noble mission of helping the people of Israel return home before the window of opportunity slams shut and live safely in its secured homeland. Keren HaYesod, with your generous assistance, has redoubled its efforts to facilitate every Jew who wishes to fulfill the biblical prophecy. Friends of Israel, the Holy Land and its people needs you now. He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth.
Come join Keren HaYesod in fulfilling biblical prophecy. Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Warfare in the 21st century is fought not only on battlefields. It's fought on television screens, it's fought on the internet, and ultimately it'll be fought in international courts as combatants defending Western democracies will be accused of war crimes, of killing needlessly civilians behind whom our enemies hide and behind whom they shoot. That is why back in 2003, President George Bush, on the eve of America's invasion of Iraq, moved forward legislation called the American Servicemen's Protection Act. That act said expressly that should any enemy of the United States try to sue American soldiers for war crimes in international courts, the United States would take express action against those countries or those organizations, including leveling sanctions and boycotting those countries and organizations. And what's really fascinating about the American Servicemen Protection Act is that it mentions not once but 3 times the need to extend that protection to America's allied forces. And that is a very important note for the State of Israel as America's most crucial and valued democratic ally in the Middle East, an ally which is fighting for its safety and existence every day and fighting against the same type of enemy who hides behind civilians as they try to kill our civilians and tries to accuse us of war crimes and thus sue us in international courts and deny us ultimately the right to defend ourselves and to deny us ultimately the right to exist as a sovereign, independent Jewish state. Therefore, it is in Israel's interest and in America's interest that the terms of the American Servicemen's Protection Act be extended, as that act says, to America's allies, particularly its greatest and most devoted democratic ally in the Middle East, the State of Israel.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Anti-Semitism threatens many of the Jews. We must rescue them before the window of opportunity slams shut. Bless Israel by supporting Keren HaYesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let us bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
We're Bunny and Bob Layton, and we first came to Israel in 1983, and that's when we were introduced to the International Christian Embassy of Jerusalem.
To be quite frank, we came to Israel for all the wrong reasons. I was pretty burnt out, and the bottom line is it was a chance to be here in Israel, and we came. And unexpectedly on the Mount of Olives, we believe we heard from the Lord that we'll be coming back for many years to be blessed by the Jewish people and to bless the Jewish people. We had no idea what that meant until the very next morning when we were introduced to the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
We began working each year at the Feast of Tabernacles here with the International Christian Embassy and have been doing that since 1996.
Well, the Bible really came alive during the Feast of Tabernacles because all the nations of the world, at that point we had about 110, I believe, that came up to Jerusalem. We had like 10,000 people, and it was like coming home to a family. It's really coming home that I'd never experienced before, and seeing all the people of the world at every feast we've been to since then for the last 20 years, it's like seeing a huge family reunion. That's really a blessing to our hearts.
I get more out of coming to Israel than you all get from me. It's a delight of my heart to do this.
I think one of the most exciting parts of it early in the ministry is wanting to help Jews come from the North Country, as the Bible predicts in Jeremiah, to come back to the land of Israel And at this point in time, I think the embassy's brought back from Ethiopia and Russia and different places around the world something like 125,000, new olim to make immigration to Israel. That's just fantastic that the Christians around the world would support that effort of bringing people up, making aliyah to come up to Jerusalem to live here.
And I like the faithfulness of the staff to publish the needs of the embassy. They make it very easy to just read and see where your heart is quickened and where you want to participate, maybe that month or maybe that season.
Our partnership for the embassy for really the last 35 years is a working, loving, caring partnership, and it's a real friendship. It's not just a business situation or just to donate money, okay? It comes from the heart.
The ICEJ makes it easy for you to participate in all different kinds of facets of helping out in Israel, whether you can come here or be a provider from afar with prayers and financial support.
Once in a lifetime, there comes a moment that not only changes a nation, it changes the world. It was the realization of a 2,000-year-old dream that altered the course of history. During the turmoil of the Six-Day War, an opportunity emerged to reunify the single most important city in the world. And on June 7th, 1967, the dream became a reality.
השעה 10:20, ה-7 ביוני, ברגע זה אנו עוברים את שער האריות. הר הבית בידינו, כאן תמיד, הר הבית בידינו. מנחם ציון ובונה ירושלים.
The Feast of Tabernacles 2017 marks 50 years since a divided city became united again.
You don't want to miss this historic and prophetic opportunity to celebrate with us 50 years of a reunited Jerusalem. Come to Jerusalem on the 6th to the 11th of October 2017 and celebrate with us the Feast of Tabernacles right here in the city of God.
Register today at feast.icej.org.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.